Hi guys, my name is GlenNeta Griffin and welcome to our GMA exclusives. I am the CEO and founder of the Georgia Media Academy, and we have been connecting you with live industry talks with live industry professionals, especially during this quarantine, so that you can learn how to take your skills to the next level. But tonight, I may have the best one because I'm really excited about our guest. So let me tell you a little bit about him. He works for WarnerMedia Brand Creative. He is a producer and a project manager. Just some of these credits. This is not the whole list. It's just a little bit of them. TNT Entertainment, Animal Kingdom, Claws, NBA TV. He's done promotions and commercials, CNN International, TNT Sports, TBS, Adult Swim, truTV, HBO Max. That's not even half of it. I could not possibly go through this man's entire resume in one day, but y'all, please get your questions together. There's a Q&A box at the bottom. Put your questions there. If I haven't got to your question, go ahead and put them there because we're going to get to them. Everybody, please help me welcome Marcus Welch. Hey, Marcus.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. How y'all doing?
Good. I'm so excited to talk to you. Like, first of all, I want everybody to know that me and this man go way, way back, like elementary school way back. I just want y'all to know. And I've literally watched your journey over the years, and it's just been amazing. First of all, to see you start off in something and to just continue to grow and to elevate and evolve into doing what you love, and you're traveling the world, and you were just, you know, so involved in film and television and sports and all these things. It's like you have a dream job. It really does, especially off the picture. So we're going to talk about the good stuff and the bad today. But I mean, I'm super excited to talk to you, and thank you for agreeing to do this for us. I appreciate you so much.
No, it's my pleasure, honestly. Again, when you asked me to do it, it was a no-brainer for me. And for those that know me, they know this is not really my whole bag. I don't really jump in front of cameras unless it's like for Instagram or something like that. But other than that, I try to stay as far behind the scenes as possible. So, you know, anything I can help with GMA to answer some questions and get in front of some things that people want to, you know, inquire about, I'm all for. So.
Awesome. I appreciate you so much. Let's jump right in. Tell us about your journey. How did you get started in media and television and film and entertainment? Where did it all start?
I'll give you the short version, and it'll be beefy, but I'll give you the short version. Growing up as a kid, you know, just like most people, I listen to music, you know, and I used to have these ideas about what the music was saying to me, you know, like these visuals. And so they always had me sparking ideas about, hey, I would align this visual with this song, you know, so never really putting, you know, these things together as a kid. You know, I didn't have a camcorder or anything like that. But ironically, when I got to college, you know, a coach, I played college ball, and a coach, he kind of put the camcorder in my hands, you know, and I actually didn't like it at the time. You know, it was something I didn't want to do. It was just like, man, I don't want to, you know, film my teammates and do all this cool stuff like that. You know, it was to me, it was punishment, you know. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, I did that. And in the midst of me playing college ball at the school I went to, I decided that I wanted to pursue the arts a little bit further. You know, I figured that how do I find something that makes me happy? How do I find a field? And, you know, that's what college is for. You go to college to explore who you are, who you want to be. Right. And I discovered very early that I wanted to get into the arts. And so I did the most unconventional thing. I stopped playing college basketball. I enrolled in a film school, and the film school I went to, Georgia State University, it wasn't sufficient enough for me. So I actually did something that was untraditional. I told my parents that I was going to leave school and move myself to LA. All right. I promised them I was going to come back and finish school, but I told them I was going to leave school and go explore what's out there in LA. I had some from friends that were like seniors and juniors that was already taking a step before me, you know, graduating and moving to LA. But I figured that I wanted to kind of like get in there a little bit sooner. I didn't want to wait to graduation. So I saved all my money. I did everything I could to kind of support myself to get there the way I needed to without my parents, you know, spending and breaking their piggy banks. And I moved to LA and this is before social media. This is before, like, you know, I didn't have any family, you know, it was just strictly just me just figuring this out, you know. Mm-hmm. And I got out there and I got a real taste of what it is in the industry, you know. And it was the best education I could ever got, just going out there and just seeing what's there. And you know, again, it was a chance. No one will probably ever try to take the same path, which is good because I'm a firm believer in the industry that we're in. There's not a blueprint. There's no blueprint. There's, you know, I have people that I work with and alongside that studied political science, that's in, you know, the field now, that's in the industry now. I have people that went to law school. I have friends that didn't go to college at all, that just jump into the world, you know. So again, I say all that to say, the beautiful thing about our industry is the fact that you find your way. And I found my way in California. I got to explore who I was. I got to discover who I am, who I was. And I brought that back to Georgia. I finished up school, came back to Georgia State, graduated. I got very lucky and met some people that hooked me up with Usher. I started working for Usher. Again, I'm gonna fast forward. Work with Usher. We did a joint project with Cartoon Network, and mind you, in the midst of me working with Usher, I was, you know, working on music videos, all the big music videos you could think of. Like, and again, I'm like low PA status. I'm not like nowhere near big. I'm just, you know, getting my groundwork, you know. And I never forget, you know, I work with Cartoon Network on this joint project, and it's just like, man, this is kind of cool. Like, I would love to see how you guys do this, you know, on the television side, because I had already music video experience. Music video experience was cool. I shot some music videos myself because I initially wanted to direct. You know, this was back again. This was when 35 millimeter and 16 millimeter was like the way to go. This is before 5Ds and, you know, and your camera you can use on your phone. Like, you can use your camera on your phone now to shoot a music video. So this was like really, really, really the grit of like trying to figure out money and how I'm gonna get this video to work. So, and I'll never forget my last music video I worked on. The budget was so low, and I tell people this all the time. Like, I asked the artist for $5 more. I never forget this. I won't even tell you. So I need $5 more. And he went, no one in the room, and mind you, it's a music video, so everybody got, you know, money and, you know, nice cars, like, you name it, like, but nobody could give me $5 more. And I told my buddy, I was like, you know what, this is my last music video I'm ever gonna work on. You know, I don't think I'm gonna do them no more. This is my last one. So I segued that to working in television. And long story short, somebody threw me a bone for Cartoon Networks. They called my name. They called my number. They called me on the dates, actually. They called me on a date. And that date who I was on, she was mad because I was supposed to take her somewhere. I was like, you know what? I just got this phone call to be on the set. I got to leave. Like, and from that day forward, I've been working in television, you know?
Wow. So if you had stayed with that date and not taken that job.
Right. I took her home quick. I took her home real quick. And it was, again, she understood, you know, and we're friends now to this day. She understood and she supported my decision. She knew what I was trying to do in life. So it was a cool thing. My first job, honestly, my first job in television, I say in television, on the television side, I got the phone call, said, hey, Marcus, I got a shoot coming up on this date. Are you available? This is for a PA job. This is, again, it's the lowest or low. I said, yeah, sure. He's like, it's with horses. I'm like, yeah, cool, no problem. My grandfather had a horse ranch in Kentucky, whatever you need. He said, well, you're going to be responsible for cleaning up the manure if the horse goes to the restroom in the studio. So I looked at the phone. I was like, this got to be a prank. This can't be real. And so, of course, I said yes, whatever. Yeah. Humble beginnings.
Yeah.
And that guy who ended up hiring me on that job, fast forward like 10 years, like 6 years later, he ended up putting me in a better position in television. Cemented my career. So it just goes to show you, like, you know, you got to humble yourself along your journey, along your path. And it was cool just to know that, you know, I went from a low place to a better place gradually with hard work and, of course, and a lot of good luck, of course.
Yeah. And you said two things that just triggered something for me. So the first thing you said was the female that you were dating at the time, she understood what you was trying to do, which tells me that about relationships. I want you to talk a little bit about your support team and how the people around you have to understand what you're trying to do. And then you also said something about somebody threw you a bone. And this business is very much so a relationship business. I want you to talk more about relationships and how you have to form those relationships with people in the business.
Absolutely. Again, back to the point of someone understanding what my path was. I was very verbal and very vocal about what I wanted to do in life.
Yes.
You know, again, this is coming from somebody who played sports his whole entire life. I didn't understand the arts, didn't know anything about it. I didn't go to art school. Again, my parents didn't have the kind of money that can buy me a camera. I wasn't that kid, you know?
Right.
So I slowly, gradually came into this person of like figuring out this is what I want to do. So nevertheless, I surround myself with a couple of good people that, again, threw me some bones, and I pounced on the opportunity. And I'll say this, when people give you the opportunity, you cannot squander it. You have to take full advantage of it. Yes. You gotta look at every opportunity as your last opportunity. So it's very imperative that when you have a job, when someone throws you this bone, that you're prepared to be ready, you know? A friend of mine, actually gave me a quote today. It was funny. He's like, if someone gives you a small opportunity, make it bigger. You know, someone gives you a big opportunity, even go bigger beyond that. You know, so it's like, it's no such thing as a bad opportunity.
Yeah.
Small or big. And as far as my family is concerned, like, honestly, like I said, me moving to LA, like my family was always there for me. My brother came to visit me like once or twice, but he was a phone call away. You know, my parents, they understood that I was by myself. Again, no family, no friends, really, you know, out there in treacherous LA. And I mean, they supported me along the way. You know, I'm married with 2 kids now. You know, it takes a lot in my particular world now that I need to support. You know, it's always a collaborative effort when I need people to, like, you know, like if I'm out of town, you know, again, it's a conversation. I try to get in front of stuff as much as possible. You know, again, all my work now is all out of town now. So I don't really shoot much in Georgia anymore like I used to. So I do rely on my support system quite a bit, you know. So I think having a unit of friends, you know, it don't have to necessarily be direct family. It can be, it don't have to be immediate family. It can just be a support system.
Yeah.
You know, so you definitely have to have that in this business. This is not your typical 9 to 5, you know, work hours. You know, my days consist of when I'm on shoot or on a set, I could be on set from 12 to 14 hours, you know, so, and longer if need be. So.
Yeah, that's good. We're going to talk more about that too. Talking about your family real quick, you know, for me, I have 3 kids. So when I'm away shooting, it's hard for me, but it's also kind of like that guilt as a mom because you're doing what you love, but you know what I'm saying? You still have a family at home. Like, what's it like when you have to be away from your family? Because you have small kids as well.
Communication is very key. And luckily for me, I have a good team. I have a good team of people I work with that kind of understand the work-life balance. You know, like we definitely are knee deep in work. I would tell people, you know, obviously the more mature you get, the more older you get, the more responsibilities you get. You have to start balancing out what's more important, you know.
Right.
I think with the whole COVID-19 happening, I think that's put a lot of perspective in a lot of people's lives of like, you know, hey, slow down. You know, you have small children or you have older children, whatever you got to do to spend that time with them as much as you can because, you know, these times do come far in between. For me, I think the key thing is communicating. You know, my kids know that I'm going to the airport. My kids know that I'm going to call them as much as I can, you know, when I'm away without bothering the missus at home. So I try to like let them see me. And then when I get back, or even before I leave, I explain to them what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
So, and then I always try to like, you know, sell them on like, hey, I'm going to California. We're going to go soon too. Just let daddy keep racking up these miles or something like that. You know?
Right. That's good. That's good. Guys, I hope you are taking your notes and you can put some things in the chat. And also don't forget to put your questions in the Q&A. Let's get into this position. You are a producer and I get this question all the time. What the heck is a producer? Like, what do you really do? Marcus, what is a producer?
Listen, it's a great question. And honestly, it's funny because my mom, I don't know if she's watching right now, but my mom, my dad, they always ask me, they always say, good luck on your movie today, or good luck, you know, shooting that, whatever you're shooting is like, I'm not really touching the camera. You know what I'm saying? Like, to paraphrase what a producer is and producing and production managing is, you're the nucleus who puts make sense out of the projects. For instance, like I have shoots, promos, and there's budgets involved. There's numbers involved. There's creative ideas involved, and there's always this voice of reasoning that says what we can and cannot do. You know, so and I'll be very honest with you, GlenNeta, like the word producer is so vague. Like you and I both know that there's multiple productions that you can kind of be a producer in, and your role could be significantly different. You can be a television producer who work in a mobile, a live truck, and you're not even on a set per se, you can be a producer of theater for that matter, and then obviously there's producer of films. Like myself, I personally chose not to pursue the film route, and reasons of, it wasn't a passion of mine. I never wanted to be a filmmaker. I never wanted to go into working on movies. I favor more of the short form, I favor that. And I think as an artist, somebody in the industry, you have to make that choice. I'm not saying you have to be pigeonholed to that choice. Not saying you got to stick with that choice. Again, Tyler Perry started out working in theater. He started doing plays first. Now he's one of the biggest moguls out there in the industry. Right. So you're not sequestered to like staying with that decision. However, though, you should get good at something before you decide to jump around. Yeah. And for me, I don't want to be in bed with a project that long. So I'm always the person that tells people like filmmaking was something that I can obviously do, if I wanted to. But again, I know my bread and butter. I know what drives me creatively. I like seeing the end product faster than 6 months or 3 months. Yeah. I particularly have worked on maybe like 1 or 2 films, and just for experience. And just, being in the same location for 20 hours for 2 scenes, it wasn't really my cup of tea. I like narratives, from like a visual standpoint, but actually storytelling, filmmaking, the long form version of it was never my thing, Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because, I have a journalism background. That's what my undergrad is. And I started out working in a newsroom and I didn't like it, but I was trained for it. It's always something, if I felt like I wanted to go back and do, I could do it. Do you feel like the education that you did set you up to where if you wanted to pursue more film, or that you have that foundation to pursue it if you decided to go back and do it?
Yeah. And honestly, the reason why is because I jumped into it. Okay. And meaning that there's not a producer course. There's not a production manager. There's not a director's course. Like you just follow the path of. There's people I've worked with, production designers, art directors, whoever I've worked with and collaborated with so many different people that I fed off of. And those very well people could be producing and directing the film, So there's such a collaborative process. And by not being this formality of like steps of you have to do this, that, I think just starting and being in the industry allows you to have that gateway into being a filmmaker if you decide to, especially now with technology. I mean, I tell my nephew, my godson all the time, like he wants to go to film school. Well, you don't have to wait. You're already in film school. You have iMovie on your iPhone. You have 4K capabilities on your phone. Yes. Do not wait to get in this formal classroom to start, owning your craft. Yeah. So just to be honest with you, I think the advantages of working in the industry we work in, once you jump in, you start finding so many things about yourself. You do. Like you could be working with a food stylist and she might just be more in depth to understanding how to shoot certain product than you probably ever did as a director. Yeah. So, again, a lot of pride has to go to the side. I learned from so many different people in various departments, everybody down from makeup, it's like, they can save me so much money by giving me what they've learned. And I have to trust them, of course, having the background to be able to decipher what's real and what's not real helps. But it's such a collaborative process, which is what I love about this industry, because no one person looks alike. Not one person has the same background. We're all just one family trying to get one product done. So.
Yeah. I think that's good too. And I love that you found your niche or your niche. I know some people say niche, some people say niche inside the industry. And I think that's the great thing about the industry. And that's why the real life experience kind of has that advantage, because you could literally spend years studying this stuff, but until you get on set and learn what you really want to do, or even mark off what's not for you, that's half the battle right there, knowing what you don't want to do.
Absolutely.
No.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, nothing is better than practical training. I mean, hands-on training, I should say, you know. You can read as many books as you want to. I went to a film school that was theory-based, and, you know, unfortunately, D.W. Griffin doesn't help me in today's world, you know. Don't get me wrong, some of those same theories and I can apply to just for my general purposes. But for the most part, it's not the ABC 1, 2, 3 steps of this. So
yeah. Good stuff. Let's talk about your day-to-day. So I wanted you to walk us through your day. You get on set, and what does your day look like? Because you said you could work between 12 and 14 hours in a day. Like, what all tasks would you do in that day?
Well, I take you back even before that. My day consists of we work with creative directors, all right? So creative directors kind of run the ideal that's presented, right? They kind of like come with these big ideas, and my team, the team I work for, Brand Creative, we come up with the ideas of like, hey, this is how we're going to do this. You know, accomplish it by this way. It's going to cost us this amount of money. Does it make sense to do it this way or that way? So that's what we kind of collaborate on. So once we've hashed all that out, once that's all decided, you know, we correspond with our talents. You know, our talent has to sign off on everything, of course. There's a lot of red tape going through high profile talent. You know, I've worked with anybody, again, you name it. Not saying like a lot of people, but for the most part, I've worked with some people that you have to go through a lot of channels to get approvals through. And so again, it's just not like I write something or someone writes something and come up with something and they say, okay, let's go do it. No, it's so many different approvals. It has to make sense for marketing purposes. It's literally a full-fledged machine once we hit set, you know, and the pressure is on executing. And that's where I come into play mostly. For the most part, that's why I earn my bread and butter, is saying this is what we need to do, this is how we're going to do it, and this is the money we have to do it. We cannot go over, you know. So of course there's some contingencies in there where you can, you know, straddle along the lines of money and you can figure out where to save here and there. But my responsibility is to make sure that the idea is executed, no one gets hurt, and everybody walks away happy, you know. So typical day of my life is go to the location. Normally it's out of town, wherever our shows are. Talk to the talent, make sure they're on the same page of delivering what we need done. I align myself now with production companies because we have so much overlap. So being I work with HBO Max and truTV and TBS and TNT, I'm never in bed with just one project. So we end up farming these projects out to like a production company. Okay. Sometimes locally, sometimes they travel with us, but we kind of like, they bid on the job, and whoever was awarded the job, we work alongside them. So a big responsibility of mine is making sure that production company has everything they need to be successful, making sure my side of it, starting with talent, is happy. Like the biggest thing is making sure that our talent doesn't give us any bad feedback, you know. And it's, you know, it's like babysitting to some degree, because these people have egos, and you gotta. Yes, Lord. I mean, you're behind the camera, you're in front of the camera and behind the camera, so you understand that more than anybody. But it's the tall task is really making sure that 1, you stay on budget, 2, that you get the job done, and 3, that our talent doesn't walk away feeling like they just got, you know, beat up. You know, they feel happy about what they just did. Yeah, and that's good. I'm glad that you mentioned the budgets, because a lot of what a producer has to do is to keep that project on budget. Talk about we're going to talk a little bit about money, because some of the people actually submitted questions about money. Okay. What is like the biggest budget you had to manage on a project? I would say like almost $250,000. So like, wow. Yeah, this is, and then mind you, these are like beefy, like evergreen projects where they're going to live a long time. So it's like a full all in, like we're like 90%, my job consists of promoting shows. So we try to maximize everything we need with this particular show in one whop. So again, if we shooting Dakota Fanning, we're treating this like we're not getting hurt no more. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So if we're shooting, for instance, the Alienist, which shoots in Prague, you know, we have to factor in we're not coming to Prague 3 times a month, you know. So we try to map out everything we possibly need with this particular artist. I'm sorry, this particular talent, and what we need for the actual show as much as we can. So it could get real beefy. The biggest thing, honestly, for me is always trying to factor in that does the money, like with our team particularly, doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because, having a big production is sometimes cool. Sometimes it's also kind of, nerve-wracking, You don't want to keep going over, especially when people are not really so happy about spending that much money in the first place. These are not things that people want to do. They don't want to spend $600,000 on a production. They rather make it lower.
Yeah. So what happens if you go over your budget?
It's a conversation. Listen, I try not to have as many overages as possible. But again, if it's justified, someone told me something a long time ago. I'm not gonna tell you who it was, but long story short, he said, listen, if it looks good, no one complains.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. No matter how much money was spent, listen, if people walk away happy, people are not gonna complain.
Right.
If it looks like shit, you're gonna have a lot to talk about after that job is done.
Right.
So it's weird how money mysteriously finds itself, certain times, but you don't want to make that a habit where you're going over your budget. That's not something you want to do.
Good stuff. Let's talk about someone breaking into the industry. If you have absolutely no experience at all, you have not gone to film school, how would you recommend someone break into the industry?
Find your closest production. Listen, keep your ear to the street. I went to a music video one time and said, I'm not leaving this set until I get somebody's phone number.
Okay.
I did that. I just hung out.
Yeah.
Just hung out. I was talking to anybody walking my way who looked like they was important.
Wow.
I ended up getting a PA's number. It's like, and again, that person led me to more work. So that said, is keeping your ear to the streets. Thank God now where you got social media, you got all these news buzz, where you can find out people sharing information. If you live in Georgia, like most of us do, Georgia is like the Hollywood of the world right now, or not at the current moment, but in general. And just keeping your eyes open, and never think that you can't start from somewhere. Again, it's just about jumping in. And again, don't worry about the formal education aspect of it. That's not important. It doesn't matter if you went to Harvard or if you went to, some community college. It doesn't matter. Like I said, most of my friends, they didn't even go to school for filmmaking and television. So it's just about figuring out what you want to do and pursuing it. I hate to sound like so generic about it, but it's really just that simple. No real answer other than just trying to figure out how to get close to it. And that can be as simple as, again, like I said, going on somebody's set, asking for a call sheet. Can I get a call sheet? Emailing people to death, texting people to death, whatever you gotta do. You know what I mean? I think people need to understand too as well, like in this business and just in general in life, I think people hire people and work with people who they want to be around.
Yes, people they like.
People they like.
Yes. Yeah.
Knowing what you're doing is important. But if you're a likable person, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have some leeway into some opportunities that most people wouldn't. Just because they want to be around you.
Yes. And I think that's so important too. This is definitely a network and a relationship business, but people also have to understand that once you build that community or you're in the community, people will take you with them on projects.
Absolutely. Yep. Especially again in production, like some people work in the units, the departments. So if I work in the art department and my production designer gets pulled in on a big project, 9 times out of 10 they're going to bring me along with them. You know what I mean? So it's like you align yourself with people who you try to, at least with people who are successful, who have a good rapport with people, who have a good network of work coming in, flowing in, and it kind of takes its own toll from there. Like you kind of like once you get in the circle, as they call it, the circle. You kind of good. When you fall out the circle, you find yourself looking for work everywhere, and I've been on the freelance side. I still freelance now, even though I work for a corporation, I still believe in, keeping one foot in, one foot out. I never forget when I first got hired by, WarnerMedia, which was Turner at the time. you know, I had a cell phone, and I had my own cell phone, and they gave me a cell phone. I was like, well, I'm still keeping my cell phone because this is where this is my name, this is my context, this is my network, this is how I got started in the business. You know, God forbid if you guys tell me, you know, get out the house, kick the door, you know, I got to still go back to the word I left. And so I was a firm believer in not just like turning my back on what made me where I am, you know. So, you know, again, I'm always the guy's like always trying to figure out what's going on, like what my previous friends are working on. Like I might not be able to help them because I'm on my own shoots, but I try to stay in tune as much as possible.
That's good. That's real good. Let's talk about working in Georgia, because I know you went to LA and kind of jump started your career. But if there's someone that's breaking into production in Georgia, like what's your take on working in Georgia versus, you know, trying to break in working in LA or any other surrounding state?
I hope I don't have anybody from California on the call, but I'll say it's not as easy as working in California, jumping in. It's not as easy as working in New York. You have some advantages working in Georgia with certain, because of just the hospitality, and people are just a little bit more friendlier.
Okay.
People are more eager to help you here, from what I discovered. You know, obviously if it's a union job, you know, it's nothing you really can do about that kind of stuff like that. But it's so much content being shot here. Reality is a really good way to get into the industry now. You know, reality is such an abundance of it happening here in Georgia. You know, they usually take less experienced people. They just need bodies, you know. So that said, you know, it's more likely that you'll jump into a reality show before you jump into like a major commercial set, or, you know, music videos. Obviously now they're a little bit more easy to jump on to now, because people, again, shoot them on all kind of formats. You don't need $100,000, $200,000 video anymore. People shooting for $15,000 and $5,000 and $10,000. So again, if you want to be hands on, sooner or later, the smaller the smaller the project, the more you can do earlier. So I would tell people, like, look, decide what you want to do, whether they want to pursue TV or film or commercial world. Figure out what that is first, and see where those people are, where they are. You know, again, like I said, Georgia is so much here. Like, it's, to me, I think Georgia is like the gold mine. Like, if you live in Georgia, you win it right now, for real. Because the reason why is people from California, people from all over are coming out here to work on these projects, and you make alliances with them. You know, you network with them, and they're going back home to California. So now you have a friend in California. You got a friend who lives in New York. You got a friend who lives in Toronto. Like, so the networks are coming to you. So you don't have to travel to California and meet people from California no more. Everybody come to you.
Yeah. That's good. And let me tell you why I think that's kind of bad too. So, you know, with A-list talent, there's a lot of background and supporting roles that are being cast out of Atlanta, but still bringing those A-list actors from LA. Do you think we'll get to the point in Georgia where we're not having to bring so much, you know, of the crew from LA, or there'll be a point where we can get the majority of our crew here in Georgia?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I'm on the opposite end of that. I'm the guy that's traveling to those other states, taking the work from other people as well. So I definitely empathize with that. That said, I think by being such an abundance of productions happening here, I think there's enough work to go around.
That's good.
I think it is. And I think you got to look at the advantages of people coming in from out of town. You know, I think, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it should just be a closed net door. It should just be Georgia. I think you got to look at it as opportunity. You know, people coming from London and shooting here, like, these are opportunities to network. These are opportunities to grow your bandwidth to your arms. Like, you know, it's like who you can talk to. You know, now you have a direct contact in London that you met in Georgia. You didn't have to go to London for that.
Yeah.
So I don't get me wrong. I know from the acting standpoint, and being in front of the camera, you're competing with people who've already been cast before they even showed up at the casting. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
So, it's always going to be that stigma of they're from LA.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we hire directors all the time from LA. Like, there's plenty of directors in Atlanta. That's good, you know?
Yeah.
But once you hear LA director, I don't know, the stigma is like your production is going to get enhanced, but that's not always the case. We know that.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
So I think you just gotta embrace it. I think you gotta find it, you know, don't get me wrong, I understand both sides of the argument, but at the same time, it's an opportunity to kind of grow and expand your network, which is honestly the most important thing of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Expand your network. Everybody write that down. Expand your network. Let's talk about this. Post COVID-19, how do you think set and productions are going to be different?
Listen, I've been reading like the new Georgia approach, like the new Georgia media. I'm sorry, Georgia is like got these new regulations and rules and like all these different. I'm gonna be honest with you, like I don't think it's practical at all. I think everybody is trying to figure out what makes most sense to be as a courtesy, because again, no one has a bulletproof plan. Right. I mean, we're talking about filmmaking and work. We're not, you know, we're not talking about how we're gonna live our day-to-day lives. You know, this is just a job at the end of the day. And yes, we want to jump back into that world, but I don't think it's really a responsible way of doing it. I think it's too many gray areas. I think it's gonna be some formalities in place. Yeah. I was just telling somebody I work with, like, it's gonna be a crazy amount of money in your budgets now for like Lysol. I mean, you're gonna have
insurance.
Like, well, I mean, just gonna have like just a lot of just uncomfortableness. You know what I mean? Like, you're gonna have people complaining about people being too close to them. It's gonna be a lot of conflict, you know. And it's only so much real estate on sets.
Right.
Like, I don't know where people think that, you know, you can just be 6 feet apart everywhere you go from people. Like, it's not really practical.
Yeah, I've seen some independent projects that have been posting and crewing up for like July-ish, I suppose. And they've been saying everyone must do their own hair and makeup. I'm like, so are we gonna cut hair and makeup department? You know what I mean? I'm just like, because they don't want anybody physically touching somebody's face, you know?
Yeah. They don't want to do any last looks on set as much as possible. They rather you get your hair and makeup done. They want you to come camera ready as much as possible.
Camera ready, right? Yeah.
And again, that's gonna be a request from some people anyway. Like, you're gonna have some A-listers like, I want this before I even get to set anyway. I don't want people touching my face. I don't want to be in front of people.
Yeah.
Like, listen, it's gonna be so much money spent on longer lenses. Just getting close to certain subjects. Like, it's just going to be a crazy amount of money just being spent in different aspects of the production. Yeah. You know, you're talking about staggering people on calls, and it's like, listen, again, I think it's going to just be some kind of courtesy to say, this is what we're trying to do to make people feel more comfortable, but it's just not bulletproof. Like, I work in New York a lot, and people commute on the subway to get to New York, get to the set. Yeah. They're not gonna test themselves before they go into that building. They might get their temperature checked, but that's not gonna say they're gonna be clear of COVID.
Right.
You know, you don't know who sneezed or what. Again, it's just too many gray areas in this. So I think people are just gonna err on the side of caution by just having these formalities in place. But there's not gonna be a bulletproof plan. It's not. I think we just gotta be courteous and considerate. But I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic about this, what's happening next with COVID-19 as far as our world is concerned, but I don't see a silver lining in it, to tell you the truth. And I'm an honest person, and I try to be as brutally honest as possible, but I don't see the solution for how people are going to come out of this with a bulletproof, you know, this is the plan now. This is how it has to be. Yeah. It's just not practical.
Yeah.
You know, I've got several people sending me stuff, reels and new work that, hey, we've been doing this post-COVID, during COVID, just so you know, we got this new approach. This is how we shooting now. It's like, it ain't enough GoPros in the world you can mount to make someone feel safe. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's just not practical. So that said, we're gonna do our part. We're gonna obviously check all the check marks we can check, all the, you know, but again, I don't think there's any way of really just assuring people are gonna be safe.
Yeah, they're even talking about cutting background talent out.
All that. Everything. It's just like a doctor's visit. Like, you know, if you got a casting call, instead of people lining up in line, you're going to wait in your car now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that too. Where everyone wait in your car, there won't be any holding areas. Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, though. I read this, that you'll be lucky, because I read that they want to cast families now to kind of cut out the randomness of people coming. So they rather cast your whole entire family. They're looking for mom, if they're looking for dad, and, you know, nuclear mom, sister, and daughter.
Yeah.
They rather cast your kids along with yourself and your husband
Mm-hmm.
kind of cut down on possibilities of people coming in from other places.
Yeah, and touching, because I can touch my kid versus somebody else. Yeah.
Listen.
Well, that's great. So that means my whole family is going to be working a lot.
I'm switching sides of this. I'm about to get into the never mind, I'm just joking. Agency side.
That's good news for the Griffin household.
Sure. But I hope I answered your question. I mean, honestly, again, like I
Yeah.
said, I don't think it's a real answer for the COVID-19 approach moving forward. I don't think it's even like I said, we're trying to figure out in our day-to-day lives. So
Yeah.
we definitely don't have it figured out in the production world. So
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of unknown, but yeah, I think time will tell.
yeah.
Yeah. Give me 3 characteristics of a good producer.
Oh, good characteristics of a good producer.
Mm-hmm.
Charismatic, creative,
Creative, yes.
and efficient.
Mm,
Efficient.
that's good.
And the reason why I say those 3 because we run into a lot of pivoting. You know, as we all know, in the production world, nothing ever goes as planned. And staying poised,
Mm-hmm.
keeping a cool head, understanding that things will get messed up. This will not go as planned as you work so hard to prepare for.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be what you prepare for. It will be some form of having to adapt. You have to do an audible here or there.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding that you always can't fall in love with the idea, you have to sometimes, be flexible. You have to be flexible. Yeah. And I'll say that to say you can't have a lot of emotion in this business. Mm-hmm. You can't be an emotional person. You cannot have you can't wear you got to have a poker face. Mm-hmm. Once people sense your nervous attention, they listen, you're gone, you lost, you're done. You lose your whole team, all the leverage that you might have had, going into that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
and have thick skin.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I said, you have to be emotionally detached from production. You do, because people they have one goal to accomplish. That's it. Mm-hmm. Your emotions and your feelings and how you feel right now, it's just has to go in your back pocket.
Yeah.
So
get the project done by any means necessary.
Yeah. So I think again, the communication aspect of that, being charismatic, understanding that you can tell somebody no with a smile on your face. Mm-hmm. I've tell people no, and we can't do no. We can't. We got to move on. We can't. We got to adjust this. We got to cut this with a smile on my face. I can't be the douchebag that's telling people we're not doing it just because. It has to be some kind of justification behind it. It has to make sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. Marjani wanted to know, what is the best way for college graduates to get noticed by production companies or major companies? Hey, Marjani, I see you, girl.
Hey, Marjani, thanks for the question. I think the biggest thing is to do the work. For instance, like You're Real. Let me read your question. The best way for
go ahead.
Depending on
what you want to know, the best way to get noticed by a company like WarnerMedia, also in your department at WarnerMedia, are there internships available? Lastly, she had a lot. Lastly, I am a big fan of the shows Animal Kingdom and Claws. What is it exactly that you do for those shows? Great questions. And Marjani is an intern at GMA. And when I tell you this girl is persistent, she knocked on my door like 20 times before I was like, girl, come to work. Let's go.
I see her question in the chat, so I'm going to answer it one by one.
Okay, yeah. Hey, guys, we're going to start wrapping up shortly. We have like 15 minutes. If you have any final questions, put them in the Q&A, and Marks and I are going to go through them and make sure we get your questions answered.
So what's the best way to get in a company like WarnerMedia? Relationships and persistence. Knowing somebody always helps. Of course, doing your part, and being in school is a criteria. You have to be in school to get an intern there. Internship there. Let's see, also in the department of WarnerMedia, are there internships available? My department doesn't have particular internships. The marketing team kind of offers internships from time to time. Well, actually consistently every summer for sure. But for my particular department, it's a very small knit department. Again, most of our jobs are on the road. So 90% of the time, I'm not even here to even take advantage of an intern or have that intern follow me or learn something from myself, because I'm not necessarily always here. So that's why it doesn't really benefit them to be in my department, if you know what I'm saying. Now, the studios, which is WarnerMedia Studios, they have and offer internships there. And because we have our existing studio, you know, they can learn a whole lot right there at the stage, you know. So again, that's off relationships. I would say just don't go in blind. I've never been a big fan of just applying for jobs blindly. I think having an end helps a lot. Having somebody you can, you know, nudge from time to time and ping, hey, don't forget me. That goes a little further. And then there are cases where people just kind of send their resume, you know, and they get lucky, you know. Let's see. I hope I answered that. Let's see. Animal Kingdom and Claws. Those are also two of my favorite shows too. Listen, I have a lot of fun on Claws. Let me tell you that for one. Claws is filmed in New Orleans. Anytime I get to go to New Orleans, it's always a good time going there for obvious reasons. One of my responsibility for Claws and Animal Kingdom is to produce promo content for the show. So there's trailers, there's sizzles, there's all kind of packages that we have to produce to drive people towards the show. So if you see something on social media like Instagram or Facebook or trailer or something like that, that's kind of my job to make sure those products again produce. So recently, my last Claws job I did, I worked with the girl Sweetie. Is that how you say Sweetie? Sweetie, right? That's my type. Everybody know who that girl is? That's my type. Anyway, she had that song and they collaborated with her to promote the show with her song. So again, we actually did that here in Georgia. She was here in town. I think she was here visiting Quavo, if I ain't mistaken. And nonetheless, she
you weren't supposed to tell that part.
No. They out. They ain't got they ain't doing nothing behind closed doors. They out. They're a good couple. Nevertheless, though, we did a music video that kind of like cross-marketed herself, of course, and the show as well. So, make a long story short, commercial world, promo world, all of this is just marketing. It's all marketing. It's all driving people towards content. Show. That's it. Yeah.
Good stuff. Marjani, I hope that answered all of your questions. If you had a follow-up with that, just put it in the Q&A. We had another attendee question. During the times of struggle, what was your motivation to continue on your journey?
Ooh, wow.
It's a good question.
Just the want, you know, this is what I want to do. I didn't want to do anything else. You know, I didn't have a plan B.
I was going to ask you that too. Was there ever anything else you wanted to do?
This is what I want to do. You know?
I love that.
Of course, I get, you know, older and more mature and try to get more a security blanket for my family. You start thinking about other ventures, you know, everybody wants to dive into real estate now in Georgia and just in general in life. But, you know, things of that nature, like you try to have those as just like a backup. But nevertheless, this is what I want to do. This industry, this particular world that I'm in, allows me to be who I want to be. I'm always the guy who don't look like nobody. You know, I dress how I want to dress. You know, I got tattoos and I got hair and I wear hats all the time. You know, I wear sneakers and jeans and I get to be myself, you know?
Yeah.
That's important to me. I wanted to be in a field and career that I can be myself, you know? Not saying you can't be that anywhere else, but particularly for myself, this made sense for me.
Yeah.
It made sense for me. I get to work with everybody from all walks of life. I get to travel doing it. It's never the same thing twice, which is the best part about it. You always have to be sharp. I have to stay on my toes with the industry. You know, technology is always advancing. I got to stay on that. So it keeps me very sharp. That also helps me in my day-to-day life as a father and as a man, as a husband.
Good stuff. We had another question. What was the most difficult conflict you've encountered in your career?
Oh man. Most difficult.
We want to know a little bit of the bad, Marcus. We know you travel the world and meet all the celebrities. We need to know something bad.
I'll tell you something embarrassing. I'll tell you, this is embarrassing. This happened to me. This is a real rookie thing I did. And I actually embarrassed myself for real. My first red carpet experience, SAG Awards. So they tell you on the back of your SAG, your credential, do not take a photo of your credential, right? And what did I do? Took a photo of my credential. So I got a phone call from like I don't know, I guess people who are working on security team, TNT at the time or whoever it was, called me like, hey, just so you know, you got to take that picture down. You post it on social media of your credential. Like, that's not good.
Wow.
Because people can take that picture and duplicate it, and
Yeah.
find themselves on the red carpet with, A-list celebrities and whatnot. It's a, security hazard.
Yeah.
So my first rookie mistake I made was I got on my first red carpet, and I was in the moment. I was just like, I gotta take a picture for myself to commemorate that I'm here. Like, I've come from so far away to get here, and I'm here, and it's like I did the stupidest thing you can ever do was take a picture of my credential. And so now, if you see me now, I'm either taking a picture after the show is over on the red carpet, or I cover it up or something like that. But for the most part, that was one of the dumbest things I ever did in my career. It could have cost me big.
Yeah. And while we're on that note, because I've ended up with like 10 folders of pictures in my phone that I can't post because the project hasn't come out yet. Talk about, how you have to keep things together and confidential on set, and you have to be able to follow directions. So I know we have a lot of people that are, you would get excited when you get around all these celebrities, especially if you're somebody that you admire and you want to take pictures and you want to post them on Instagram and that kind of stuff. But talk about the exclusivity of being on set, and you can't post all that stuff.
You just got to have good form. You got to understand that, again, your last job has to be good. Like, no one cares what you did the job before. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to be that guy who's over anxious, who doesn't know how to conduct themselves around certain people. One thing you learn about celebrities and actors and whoever else, musicians, that they're just like us. Mm-hmm. I've taken my fair share of pictures with celebrities and whatnot, and I could tell you that now, that again, back to the point of it's being who I am, made that a comfortable situation for them. You got what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, they gravitate towards me because of my personality. It becomes a mutual thing. It's never just like, hey guy, want to take a picture with me? It's like, you don't want to be that guy. Like, it's just not good form. People are watching you. People are always, looking for you to make a mistake. I just so happen to be, one of the few people who look like myself on set most of the time. Like, it's not a lot of people who look like myself. Again, not saying there's not people who look like me in production. There is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. However, though, again, I worked on some projects where I'm usually the only one, or sometimes I'm one of 3. And I don't want to be that guy who is the guy talking to this actor about his personal life, or overstepping that boundary, making them feel uncomfortable. Because again, it's not hard to remember who I was.
Right.
It's not hard to point me out. Like, it's not hard to say that dummy over there talking about my girl who I ain't with no more. You know what I mean? It's just like, you got to have some etiquette about yourself.
Yeah, that stuff.
It's definitely some unwritten rules in the production world. Definitely some unwritten rules, and you start figuring out what makes sense for you or not. I've been offered to go hang out with celebrities and whatnot after we wrap, and it's like, I can't. You know what I mean? Like, I can't.
Gotta make good decisions to keep your job.
Your name is your name. Bottom line, your name is your name. That person is rich with or without you. They don't need you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's good. I will not tell you who sent me this question, but you will probably know. This person, I reworded it. This person wants to know, how much do producers make? They actually sent it and said, how much does Marcus make? I'm gonna say, and you'll probably know exactly who this person is, but he asked, how much do producers make?
Honestly, that's a good question. I think it depends on the project. Again, we're above the line. In the filmmaking world, how do I answer this formally? There's not a set amount. How about that? There's not a set amount. Everything is project based. I happen to work for a company that pays me a salary. That salary is not mirrored across other companies. I'll tell you that now. Like, don't get me wrong, there's a median number that you can probably leverage when you go get hired by somebody, but I can't say the Weather Channel is going to pay me the same amount that I'm making over where I'm making now at WarnerMedia. I can't say that, it just depends. I can't go to Aspire. I can't go to Tyler Perry Studios and say, this is what I want because I was making that over here. There's not a salary bar, if you will, you know what I mean, for the industry that we're working in. Now, if you're talking about, independent projects or just filmmaking or just projects in itself, it's all budget based, everything is negotiable. You can have it where you're making $3,000 a day on certain projects, if depending on what the project is, that might be a 1 or 2 day job.
Yeah.
And you might have a more longer form show that you're working with, let's say, Blackish or something. You're working on Blackish for the whole entire season. You might be making less money, but you're working longer.
Right.
So there's not really a one set salary or one set rate for a producer or honestly anybody in production. Don't get me wrong. There's union rates for people to kind of make sure they make their money. But again, there's not just like a set rate.
Yeah. I would also ask you or tell you to go to the Producers Guild of America. A lot of times they do have like a rate sheet.
Yeah.
For a standard production. So Producers Guild of America, if you write that down. Same thing for Writers Guild of America, Directors Guild of America. They do have rate sheets, and that's generally what you would make a day rate on a show.
And it's reference based too, because again, I work with directors who are making $10,000 a day to people who making $5,000 on this shoot. You know what I mean? So there's different hierarchy of how good you are. There's some people who demand more. Again, like I said, I can go in a circle with that because you don't want people to say, this is my rate, this is what I make. Damn you, I'm either making this or nothing. Then you lose on the opportunity. So I try to stay away from telling people what the actual rate for a producer or anybody is on set, Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, if you're established and you have the leverage, hey, do your thing, But I think it's bad form for people to try to go into something saying this is my rate and F you, unless you're already established.
Yeah. Good stuff. Marjani also wanted to know, she asked for someone who is strongly interested in finding a position with WarnerMedia. She really wants to work for WarnerMedia Market. So if you have any openings, you have to call Marjani, okay? She said, can I email you a copy of my resume?
Absolutely. We can offline. Like, listen, one thing I wanted to kind of open up to is the fact that, people call me all the time about, hey, can you help me? I'm probably accessible. Like, I'm not that hard to reach. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram for the most part. So I'm not hard to reach at all. And I think the biggest thing for me is always having a network. I think I'm not strong without people I've worked with. I'm not strong without my people I've come up with. I'm not nowhere near good as I'm supposed to be without people who I've came up with, and who I've met along the way. I have a friend of mine who's always asking me to help him with certain projects. And if I can't do it, my famous words are, I got somebody for you.
Right. That's good.
Because I'm never going to leave you hanging. And every project is not for me. I think people got to understand that sometimes saying no to certain things is beneficial. You don't want to be the person who jumps into something and don't deliver the way you should. And my reputation is now at stake, Right. Here I am working with X, Y, and Z person, and they expecting me to give them 100%, but I got 100% going over here. So you got to factor in when you say yes to certain things. Like, I'll tell people no all the time on projects, and people get pissed. And I'm like, look, I'd rather tell you no and get somebody that's going to give you 100% than me give you a yes and be there for you 20% of the time.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it's being very honest and being brutally honest. And again, I might come across as an a-hole by saying no, I can't do it, but I'm not going to leave you hanging, so.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm sure people in the industry respect you because you're honest. So they wouldn't expect anything, other than that from you. We have like 2 more questions. What can someone be doing right now during this pandemic to prepare to enter the industry or submit themselves to be a producer?
Coming up with ideas. I mean, listen, Zoom works. People are congregating. Georgia is open like a mug right now. People still meeting right now. Georgia ain't never closed, to tell you the truth.
Right, I agree with that, yeah.
And again, the word producer, again, is so vague. So I want to be clear, like, I think people just need to figure out what they want to do with production. Because again, producing means like overseeing money, making sure things stay lined up with the creative. Those are like certain facets of producing and production managing. Having a good network of people that you can call on to help you, keeping a good name, keeping a good database of people who you know can deliver. So again, it's just such a general word. I hate the word producer sometimes because people want to fall in love with titles, and it's like, it's not, titles are cool, but I turn my head around for so many different things. It's just, you got to be a hybrid in this game. You got to be a chameleon. And again, having a good background from the ground zero, there's plenty of jobs I did craft service on. Like, it doesn't, like, I have to know what that looks like for me to know what that person's supposed to do when I hire them. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So just again, like, being a good producer or being a good production manager, you have to know what each role entails. You don't want someone telling you something that you're not aware of.
Right.
You're already behind the 8 ball then.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's the most important.
I'm sorry.
It's just starting somewhere. As far as producing is concerned, like, producing is so vague. If you know a director friend, if you have a writer friend, if you write yourself, like, coming up with some kind of like plan of action to get something done, that's producing.
Yeah.
It's producing.
Yeah.
In simple as terms, that's exactly what it is. That's producing and production managing and project managing. It's just like having a database of people that you can call on and rely on that's going to deliver. If they can't deliver, then good. Simple as that.
Good. Terry Trailer says, I say this all the time.
Tari.
Oh, Tari. I'm sorry. Tari Trailer. So Tari. I say this all the time, but I'm super proud of you. I'm happy to know you actually were a great interview. All the best, friend.
Yeah, I got to work.
Good stuff. Sorry, Tari. I'll get it right next time. My bad. So real quick before we close out, what's next for you? What projects, when all of this is over, will you be working on? What's next for you? Your next level? We're doing some shows right now that that we're not on site for. We're trying to be creative and try to produce these shows from afar. Kind of putting the camera, if you will, in the talent's hand to kind of deliver. Trying to put the creative and responsibility in their hands to get some content. Content is king. Yeah,
content is king. None of these shows can't have dead airspace. So we have to make sure we beef everything up in the meantime. Unfortunately, a lot of your favorite shows that you may have loved this and binge during this whole pandemic, they won't be available next year.
Right.
Because of the fact that no one has been in production, no one has been shooting anything. Everybody has been on hiatus.
Yeah.
So for myself, like, my shows are on hiatus right now. The ones I'm mostly in bed with. So I'm ready for people to go back into production mode. I am. It's going to happen sooner or later. But again, if people are not comfortable being on set, then it's going to compromise the whole entire work. So
yeah, absolutely. Your Uncle Tony and Aunt Yvonne said they are very proud of you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Give us a final word, some final advice or inspiration to our rising producers, and then tell us how to stay connected to you.
My final advice is simple. Just find your way. Find your way. Don't listen to negative energy or feedback. Just do what you feel is best to get you in the right direction. Again, there's no blueprint for this. There's not one way of you're supposed to read this book, you're supposed to go to this school. That's not how it is. Character is everything in this industry. Keeping a good name, that's all important. Try to be as honest as much as you possibly can without compromising who you are.
Yeah.
and also the work itself. There are some white lies and some omission here and there, but for the most part, just try to be as honest as you possibly can with yourself, most importantly. And for people who want to get in this business, it's just understanding that not easy. It is some delayed gratification. It's not going to be instant. It's not going to be instant success or instant acceptance. You're going to have to take some punches on the chin. Mm-hmm. You're going to get told no a million times, as you already know, in front of the camera, behind the camera. It's just going to be a lot of just learning. You got to humble yourself. Understand that you don't know everything. That's okay. Understanding that surround yourself around people who make you better than what you are.
Yes.
This is such a collaborative world that we work in, and thank God for my sports background that I was able to kind of understand that it's a team effort across the board. So just trying to take the pride out and ego out this whole approach to whatever you want to do with the industry. Understand that it's going to be a journey too.
Yes, yes, good stuff. How do we stay connected to you?
I'm on social media, The Life of MW, THE, The Life of MW. You send me a DM. I mean, I'm always on my social media. Facebook, I'm on Facebook. It's my name, Marcus Welch, nothing special. My email is simple, marcus.welch@me.com. Real easy. So again, I try to be more informal. I don't really like the emails flying in, so I probably tell people to text me for the most part. I won't get my number out on this, but I'll send people, whoever inquire or pursue it. But I'm a phone call away. I hate trying to like send 1,000 emails. Just text me or call me.
Good stuff. Gary said he's proud of you and he witnessed the grind you put in. Hey, Gary.
Yeah. I mean, again, like I said, my support system, like my brother was a huge part of me being on my path, staying on my path. If it wasn't my brother, I probably wouldn't even be here right now, for real. Like,
I love that.
Big sacrifice.
That's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. That's all the questions. I just want to tell you guys, thank you for tuning in. Marcus, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for sharing your journey and your experience and pouring into us. I hope that this, really feeds somebody's soul and help them get the answers that they need for the industry. I also want to encourage people to find some indie film communities. There's a lot of indie filmmakers all over Atlanta or wherever you are that could help you gain some credits and some experience to break in as a producer, because you really just got to get out there and do the work. Yeah. And that's really the only way that you can break into the industry, is to do the work. So
don't get no steps.
Yep. And I'm hoping that Marcus will join us at the Georgia Media Academy really soon as one of our instructors. So I'm still working on him. So I'm not done with you yet. I just want you to know. That's going to be a follow-up conversation.
I support Georgia Media Academy for multiple reasons. For one, you guys in my backyard. I can ride my bike there.
Yes.
And two, again, I like deferring people to people who know they're talking about, and this is a good formal resource. So I'm always going to send people your way for all their questions and answers they need.
Good stuff. I appreciate you and the support, guys. Stay connected at GeorgiaMediaAcademy.com and have a great evening. Bye, guys.
Bye.